Welcome to a journey that cuts to the very core of trust, betrayal, and the astonishing resilience of the human spirit. Today, we delve into a story that begins in the shimmering candlelight of a celebratory anniversary dinner, but quickly descends into a chilling abyss of deceit, ultimately transforming an unsuspecting wife into a formidable force of justice. This isn't just a tale of a broken marriage. It's a deep exploration of the unseen battles fought when the people closest to us become our greatest adversaries. And it's a testament to the fact that sometimes the quietest souls harbor the fiercest strength. Imagine this: 10 years of shared laughter, whispered dreams, and the slow, deliberate construction of a life together, brick by painstaking brick. A decade marked by vows spoken, promises exchanged, and the unwavering belief in a future intertwined. Now picture that decade culminating in a single brutal sentence, delivered not by a stranger, but by the one person who swore to love you unconditionally. "You've disgusted me since day one." The words, sharp and venomous, sliced through the elegant hum of the anniversary dinner. They didn't just hang in the air, they solidified, forming an invisible shroud of poison around Natasha Williams. The restaurant, once a sanctuary of cherished memories, transformed into a cold, clinical interrogation room. Her husband, Ryan, sat across from her, his blue eyes as frigid as a winter lake, devoid of warmth or recognition. This was supposed to be a celebration, a reaffirmation of their enduring love. Instead, it was an execution. But Natasha didn't crumble. She didn't scream. She didn't weep. She merely smiled. A faint, almost imperceptible curve of the lips, yet utterly defiant. Her dark skin, usually soft and inviting, now seemed to radiate an almost unearthly glow under the flickering candlelight. Her hands, folded neatly on the pristine white tablecloth, betrayed no tremor. Internally, her world was being ripped apart, like a delicate house of cards caught in a furious hurricane. 10 years, a decade-long deception. Every shared moment, every intimate conversation, every touch, all predicated on a lie. Ryan, emboldened by her silence, pressed further. "Did you hear me, Natasha? I said, you've disgusted me since day one. Since the moment I said, I do, I've regretted it." The casual cruelty of his repetition was designed to inflict maximum pain, to ensure the message penetrated every fiber of her being. Yet, Natasha maintained her composure. The other diners remained oblivious, their conversations and soft jazz music forming a surreal soundtrack to the demolition of a marriage. Life, in its indifferent cruelty, simply went on. "I heard you," Natasha replied, her voice a calm murmur, steady despite the seismic shift occurring within her soul. "I'm just wondering why you chose today to tell me this." This wasn't an act of vulnerability. It was a strategic probe. She wasn't seeking solace. She was seeking data points, confirming her suspicions, and fueling her quiet resolve. Ryan, misinterpreting her calm as weakness, laughed. A harsh, humorless sound. His response was a further unraveling of the truth, exposing yet another layer of betrayal that would irrevocably shatter Natasha's reality. "Because I can't pretend anymore," he sneered. "Because Monica and I are tired of sneaking around. Because you deserve to know the truth." Monica. The name hung in the air, a final devastating blow. Monica, her best friend since college. Monica, her maid of honor, the woman who had held her hand through her mother's funeral, the constant, comforting presence at their Sunday dinners for 10 years. The revelation was not just about a husband's infidelity. It was about the obliteration of two foundational relationships in Natasha's life. The psychological impact of such a betrayal is profound and multifaceted. When a partner cheats, especially with a close friend, the victim experiences a double trauma. There's the loss of the marital relationship, the shattering of intimacy and trust with a spouse. But then there's the agonizing realization that a cherished friendship was also a lie, a performance designed to facilitate the very destruction it feigned to support. This isn't merely disloyalty. It's a form of emotional terrorism, systematically dismantling a person's support system and questioning their very judgment. Natasha, ever the researcher, asked the crucial question, "How long?" 2 years, Ryan declared, utterly devoid of shame. 2 years of actually being happy, 2 years of being with someone who doesn't bore me to tears. His words, intended to wound, instead offered a peculiar clarity. Boring. This accusation, so often hurled by cheaters, isn't usually about the partner's actual personality. It's a projection. It's the cheater's own internal boredom, their desire for novelty, their inability to find excitement within the complexities and commitments of a mature relationship, externalized and blamed on the faithful partner. It's a way for them to justify their selfish actions, to recast themselves not as villains, but as victims of a dull life. Natasha's smile, far from fading, grew wider. Ryan, who had anticipated tears, screams, a public meltdown, looked genuinely confused. This wasn't the reaction he had orchestrated. This wasn't the script he'd written for his grand exit. Her calm was his first hint that he had fundamentally misjudged the woman sitting across from him. 2 years, she repeated, nodding slowly. And you've been planning this conversation for how long? Ryan, growing irritated by her composure, snapped, Does it matter? The point is, it's over. We're getting divorced. Monica and I are going to be together, and you can go back to whatever sad little life you had before you trapped me into marriage. Trapped him? The audacity of it. The sheer, unadulterated hubris. As if Natasha had forced his proposal, held a gun to his head at the altar. As if loving him completely, supporting his career, caring for his ailing mother, and remaining faithful for a decade was some kind of prison sentence. Ryan's narrative painted her as a conniving captor rather than a devoted partner. This victim blaming is a common tactic of manipulators, a desperate attempt to deflect responsibility and rewrite history. I trapped you? Natasha asked, her voice still steady, unwavering. By loving you, by supporting your career, by taking care of your mother when she was sick, by being faithful to you for 10 years. By being boring, Ryan shot back. By being predictable. By being everything that Monica isn't. She's exciting. She's fun. She makes me feel alive in ways you never could. The waiter, sensing the tension, discreetly retreated from their table. A smart man indeed. Natasha finally reached for her wine glass, her hand perfectly steady. I see, she said. And what makes you think I'll just let you go? Let you both go on with your lives like nothing happened? Ryan's confidence for the first time visibly faltered. What do you mean? I mean, Natasha explained, taking a sip of wine, that you seem to think this is going to be easy, that you can just walk away from 10 years of marriage, from vows, from a life we built together, and face no consequences. His voice, losing its earlier edge, mumbled, There's nothing you can do about it. We're getting divorced either way. You can make it easy or hard, but the result will be the same. Natasha set down her wine glass and leaned forward, her dark eyes locking with his. For the first time that evening, Ryan saw something in them that truly unsettled him, something that looked almost like anticipation. You know what the funny thing is, Ryan? She said softly. I've actually been expecting this conversation for months. Ryan's face went pale. What? Oh, you didn't think I knew? Natasha's smile transformed into an expression of pity. She then began listing the subtle tells, the digital breadcrumbs of deceit. The late nights, the sudden interest in the gym, the new cologne, the password-protected phone. The meticulous attention to detail, a hallmark of her profession as a research analyst, had been quietly applied to her own crumbling marriage. You knew? Ryan stammered. I've known for 6 months, Natasha confirmed, watching the color completely drain from his face. I've been watching you, both of you, waiting to see how far you'd take it. Ryan's mouth opened and closed, like a fish out of water. If you knew, why didn't you say anything? Because I wanted to see what kind of man I married, Natasha replied. I wanted to see if you'd have the decency to come clean, or if you'd just keep lying to my face every single day, and now you know. Now I know, Natasha agreed. I know that the man I married is a coward, a liar, a cheat, someone who would rather sneak around behind my back than have an honest conversation about our marriage. Ryan, desperately trying to regain control, protested, Our marriage was already over. We've been like roommates for years. No, Natasha countered firmly. You checked out of our marriage years ago. I kept trying. I kept hoping. I kept believing that we could work through whatever was wrong, but you had already decided I wasn't worth the effort. This exchange highlights a common pattern in infidelity: the gaslighting, the rewriting of history, the attempts to shift blame. Ryan tried to justify his actions by claiming the marriage was already dead, when in reality, he was the one who had actively disengaged and starved it of affection and honesty. Natasha, however, wasn't having any of it. Her clarity was devastating. Ryan, now visibly uncomfortable, attempted to salvage a peaceful exit. "Look, this doesn't have to be ugly. We can split everything 50-50 and go our separate ways. You can keep the house. I'll take the condo. We both move on." Natasha's laugh was soft, musical, and absolutely terrifying. "Oh, Ryan, sweet, stupid Ryan. You really think it's going to be that simple?" She stood up, placing her napkin neatly on the table, a gesture of finality. "You have no idea what you've just unleashed." She leaned down close to his ear, her voice barely a whisper. "You think you can humiliate me, disrespect me, betray me, and then dictate the terms of how this ends? You're about to learn something very important about the woman you've been underestimating for 10 years. I'm not the weak, boring little wife you think I am, and by the time I'm done with you, you're going to wish you had never met me." Ryan, startled, grabbed her wrist as she turned to walk away. "Are you threatening me?" Natasha looked down at his hand, then back at his face, her smile serene, almost angelic. "I don't make threats, Ryan. I make promises. And I promise you this. You're going to regret this conversation for the rest of your life." She gently pulled her arm free and walked toward the exit, head held high, back straight, every step measured, controlled, elegant. She looked like a queen leaving court after sentencing a traitor to death. Ryan sat frozen, watching her go, a chill of fear finally running down his spine. The first crucial lesson from Natasha's initial encounter with Ryan is the profound difference between reacting and responding. Many might have collapsed into tears, lashed out in anger, or pleaded for an explanation. These are natural human reactions to excruciating pain. But Natasha, perhaps honed by years of meticulous research and analysis in her professional life, chose to respond. Her calm demeanor wasn't an absence of pain. It was a deliberate choice to withhold the emotional gratification Ryan sought. He wanted to see her broken, to confirm his narrative that she was indeed boring and easily discarded. By denying him that performance, Natasha immediately seized control of the narrative, flipping the script entirely. This strategic restraint is often born from a deep, internal strength, one that comes from truly knowing yourself and understanding the motivations of others. For 6 months, Natasha had been living with a festering wound, but instead of allowing it to consume her, she transformed it into fuel for meticulous investigation. She moved from suspicion to confirmation, from emotional distress to calculated data collection. This period of quiet observation, though agonizing, allowed her to gather the ammunition she would need for the coming battle. She wasn't preparing for a fight, she was preparing for war. After leaving the restaurant, Natasha allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection in her car. 10 years of her life, seemingly gone, her marriage, shattered, her best friend, a venomous traitor. Yet, instead of the crushing despair she expected, she felt a surprising sense of relief, a small spark of excitement even. It was the clarity that comes after the storm, the liberation of no longer having to pretend, no longer living under a shadow of deceit she silently carried. She pulled out her phone, scrolling to a number she'd looked up weeks ago but never dared to dial. "Hello, Mr. Peterson. This is Natasha Williams. I think it's time we had that conversation you mentioned." The wheels of her meticulously planned justice were now officially in motion. The next morning, Ryan's side of the bed was empty. He had come home, grabbed some clothes, and likely fled to Monica's. Natasha still felt no tears, just that strange, empowering clarity. The blindfold, she realized, had been lifted. Her home, once a sanctuary, now felt like a museum of a dead marriage. Every photo, every shared object, tainted by Ryan's betrayal. A text from Monica arrived. "Hey girl, want to grab lunch today? I have so much to tell you." The casual deceit, the fake enthusiasm, the love you at the end. It made Natasha's stomach churn. How many times had Monica sent such texts while secretly dismantling her life? The audacity was breathtaking. Natasha's brief, dismissive reply signaled a quiet shift in their dynamic, a boundary now firmly drawn. In her home office, a space Ryan had dismissed as unnecessary, Natasha opened the folder she'd titled Research. Inside lay the chilling testament to 6 months of quiet investigation, screenshots of credit card statements showing lavish dinners she never attended, hotel charges on nights Ryan supposedly worked late, receipts for jewelry she never received, damning text messages glimpsed on an unattended phone, and finally, photos. Photos of Ryan's car at Monica's apartment, photos of them kissing, holding hands. She had become a reluctant private investigator, meticulously building a case against her own husband and best friend. Part of her had hoped she was wrong, but a larger, deeper part of her had known and had been preparing. The phone rang. It was her sister, Angela, who lived 3 states away. Angela immediately sensed something was amiss. Natasha, surprisingly matter-of-fact, dropped the bombshell. Ryan and I are getting divorced. And then the second shockwave. He's been having an affair with Monica. Angela's reaction was a torrent of disbelief and righteous anger. Monica? Your best friend, Monica? The silence that followed was broken by Angela's string of expletives, words that would make a sailor blush. Natasha calmly revealed she'd known for 6 months. Angela's shock turned to concern, then fierce support. You were not an idiot, Angela insisted. You were loyal, you were hopeful, you were everything a wife and friend should be. They're the idiots. This conversation with Angela, while validating, also served to reinforce Natasha's new resolve. Angela's unwavering belief in Natasha's worth countered Ryan's malicious accusations of being boring. It highlighted the crucial difference between genuine love and the manipulative narratives of betrayal. Natasha also used the conversation to subtly probe Angela's observations, confirming that others had also noted Ryan's change in behavior and Monica's inappropriate curiosity, even if they hadn't connected the dots to infidelity. This reinforced Natasha's own intuition, validating her journey from suspicion to certainty. This period of gathering evidence and internal processing speaks volumes about the silent strength that many individuals possess in the face of profound adversity. It's a testament to the power of observation, critical thinking, and disciplined emotional regulation. While the emotional turmoil was undoubtedly immense, Natasha channeled it not into destructive outbursts but into constructive action. This is a crucial distinction. Anger can be destructive, but righteous indignation, when tempered with intellect and strategy, can be an incredibly potent force for justice. The next day, Natasha met with Richard Peterson, one of the city's most ruthless divorce attorneys, a man known for destroying people who deserve to be destroyed. His office, a testament to his reputation, exuded an air of dark efficiency. Natasha, placing her meticulously compiled folder of evidence on his massive desk, articulated her goal simply. I want everything, the house, the investments, his pension, everything we built together, and I want to make sure his affair costs him more than just his marriage. Peterson, a man not easily impressed, was visibly taken aback by the thoroughness of her documentation. This is very thorough, he commented. How long did it take you to compile this? 6 months, Natasha replied. I'm a research analyst by profession. When I suspect something, I investigate it properly. And your husband doesn't know you have all this? He has no idea. As far as he knows, I just found out about the affair yesterday. This revelation underscored Natasha's strategic brilliance. She had essentially conducted a covert operation within her own marriage, gathering irrefutable proof while maintaining an outward facade of ignorance. This level of forethought and emotional control is rare, especially in such emotionally charged circumstances. But Natasha had an even bigger card to play. She pulled out a second, thicker folder. My husband works for Meridian Financial, she explained. He's a senior account manager with access to significant client funds. About 3 months ago, I started noticing some irregularities in our personal finances. Peterson's eyebrows shot up as he reviewed the bank statements, deposits that didn't match Ryan's salary, coinciding with major client transactions. Are you suggesting your husband has been embezzling? I'm not suggesting anything, Natasha said. I'm showing you evidence and letting you draw your own conclusions. This was the game changer. What started as a personal betrayal had now spiraled into a serious financial crime. The stakes had been catastrophically elevated for Ryan. Peterson, realizing the gravity of the situation, recognized that if these irregularities were what they appeared to be, Ryan could be facing criminal charges. Natasha's motivation, however, remained clear. "My concern is protecting myself and ensuring I get what I deserve from our marriage." Peterson, accustomed to the raw emotions of divorce, asked a crucial question. "What's your endgame here? Are you looking for revenge or resolution?" Natasha's answer was precise. "I'm looking for justice. My husband betrayed me in the most intimate way possible. My best friend participated in that betrayal. They both made me look like a fool for 2 years. Now they want to walk away from the wreckage of my life and start fresh with each other while I'm left to pick up the pieces. And you don't think that's fair?" "I know it's not fair," Natasha corrected. "But more than that, I don't think it's smart. They both underestimated me. They both assumed I was too weak or too naive to fight back. They're about to learn how wrong they were." Peterson finally smiled. "I think we're going to work very well together, Mrs. Williams." This scene is pivotal, demonstrating Natasha's sophisticated understanding of the situation. She wasn't merely reacting to betrayal. She was strategically dismantling her husband's life in a way that would bring not just personal vindication, but also legal consequences for his criminal behavior. Her calm, articulate description of justice, rather than revenge, showed her clear moral compass, even in the face of profound personal injury. She was seeking accountability, not just retribution. The conversation with Peterson, while focused on legal strategy, also touched upon the delicate balance between reporting Ryan's financial crimes and securing Natasha's assets. "The key is timing," Peterson advised. "We need to file for divorce and secure your assets before anyone else discovers what your husband has been doing. If his company finds out first, or if federal investigators get involved, it could complicate things significantly." This emphasized the urgency and the careful orchestration required. Regarding Monica, Peterson confirmed what Natasha suspected. Legally, adultery wasn't a crime, and while some states allowed alienation of affection lawsuits, theirs wasn't one of them. Monica, for her part, would face no legal repercussions for her role in the affair. Natasha nodded. "So she gets away with it completely. Legally, yes, but that doesn't mean there won't be other consequences for her actions." This subtle statement hinted at Natasha's burgeoning understanding of different forms of justice: legal, social, and reputational. Peterson also advised Natasha to continue playing the role of the grieving wife, essential to avoid tipping off Ryan about her deeper knowledge of his financial irregularities. This would be difficult, requiring immense emotional discipline, but it was critical to ensure Ryan didn't destroy evidence or flee. Natasha left Peterson's office feeling more confident, armed with a plan, an ally, and irrefutable evidence. This scenario brings us to an interesting ethical question. When is a person justified in actively seeking consequences for those who have deeply wronged them, beyond what the legal system might immediately provide? Natasha's approach, while undeniably effective, treads a fine line between seeking justice and enacting revenge. The legal system, while robust, often cannot fully address the emotional and social dimensions of betrayal. This is where personal agency and sometimes a calculated pushback comes into play. Let's consider real-life examples of how individuals have navigated similar treacherous waters. Take the case of Sarah, whose husband Mark had a secret family in another state for years, draining their joint accounts to support his double life. When Sarah discovered the truth, she didn't just file for divorce. She meticulously documented every fraudulent transaction, every hidden asset. Like Natasha, Sarah didn't immediately confront Mark. Instead, she used her knowledge to freeze assets, secure her financial future, and prepare a legal case that ensured Mark faced severe financial penalties, even though his emotional betrayal carried no specific legal consequence. Her journey, much like Natasha's, was about taking control of her narrative and protecting herself from further harm, rather than just passively accepting her fate. She sought to make him accountable for the financial damage he wrought, knowing the emotional damage was beyond any court's jurisdiction. Another example is David, who discovered his business partner and best friend Michael had been systematically siphoning funds from their company. The betrayal was twofold: financial and personal. David's initial impulse was to publicly expose Michael, to ruin his reputation immediately. However, his attorney advised a more strategic approach: gather undeniable proof, secure the company's remaining assets, and then initiate legal action. This allowed David to protect his business and ensure Michael faced criminal charges, demonstrating that patience and a strategic approach, even in the face of overwhelming anger, can lead to more comprehensive justice. These examples underscore the power of preparation and strategic thinking when confronted with profound betrayal. They show that while emotions are valid, allowing them to dictate immediate reactions can sometimes undermine the ultimate goal of achieving justice and self-preservation. Back in Natasha's story, Ryan came home, unaware of the storm brewing. Natasha played her part flawlessly, the concerned wife, still processing the shock. They moved around each other like strangers, Ryan glued to his phone, likely texting Monica. Natasha, meanwhile, researched divorce law and asset protection. She overheard Ryan's agitated phone call about an unexpected audit at work, a clear sign that her timeline was accelerating. Her instincts, sharp as ever, told her something was making him nervous. That night, lying alone, Natasha reflected on Peterson's warning: men who steal money and cheat on their wives aren't always predictable when they're cornered. Ryan had never been dangerous before, but he had also never been a thief or a cheat. People, she realized, were capable of surprising you in all sorts of ways. She made a mental note to take precautions, understanding that paranoia was often just prudent foresight. Monica's texts continued, full of fake concern, asking about Ryan, feigning support. Natasha, having blocked her number, was done with the pretense. The battle lines were drawn. Tomorrow, the audit would begin. Soon, Ryan's financial irregularities would be exposed. And when that happened, both Ryan and Monica would learn that actions indeed have consequences. 3 days later, Natasha quite literally ran into Tyler Morrison, Monica's ex-fiancé, at the grocery store. Coffee went everywhere, apologies flew, and then recognition. Tyler had been Monica's fiancé until 8 months prior, their engagement ending abruptly with Monica claiming they'd grown apart. Natasha, recalling her guilt at having sided with Monica back then, now saw Tyler through a different lens. "How are you doing?" Natasha asked, genuinely curious. "I'm better now," Tyler said, his smile fading slightly. "How about you? How's married life?" The question hit Natasha hard. Overwhelmed by the weight of her secret, she blurted out, "Would you like to get coffee sometime? I mean real coffee, not the kind that ends up on the floor." Tyler, sensing her distress, accepted. At the coffee shop the next day, Tyler wasted no time. "So what's going on? And please don't say nothing. I've been where you are right now." "Where I am right now?" Natasha questioned, her coffee cup halfway to her lips. "Finding out someone you trusted has been lying to you." Tyler then revealed his own devastating truth. Monica didn't break up with him because they grew apart. She broke up with him because she was cheating on him, with Ryan. He had discovered the affair 3 months before their engagement ended, and Monica had chosen Ryan. This meant Tyler had known about their affair for almost a year before Natasha. "Why didn't you tell me?" Natasha asked, a mix of anger and disbelief in her voice. Tyler's laugh was bitter. "Tell you what, that your husband and my fiancé were having an affair? Do you have any idea how that conversation would have gone? You would have thought I was crazy or lying or trying to cause trouble." He was right. Natasha knew she would have defended them both, unwilling to believe such a heinous betrayal. They sat in silence, two strangers united by a common wound, sharing the specific agonizing pain of betrayal by the same two individuals. "The Monica I fell in love with wouldn't have been capable of what she did," Tyler mused. "So either I was completely wrong about who she was, or she changed into someone I don't recognize." "And Ryan," Natasha asked, "do you think he changed? Or was I just blind to who he really was?" "I think some people are good at hiding their true nature until they don't need to anymore," Tyler responded. "Ryan had you. He had security, respectability, a wife who loved him. But he also wanted excitement, novelty, the thrill of doing something forbidden. So he kept both until he got tired of the juggling act." Natasha nodded, a chilling realization dawning. "He didn't leave me for Monica. He's leaving me because he doesn't need to hide anymore. And Monica, Tyler continued, Monica gets to feel like she won. She gets to be the exciting woman who stole someone else's husband. Their conversation deepened, exploring the psychology behind their betrayer's actions. Tyler, having gone through a similar ordeal, understood Monica's character implicitly. He knew her vanity, her need for external validation, her game playing. This alliance was not born of romance, but of shared betrayal and a mutual desire for accountability. Tyler confirmed what Natasha already suspected. Monica, at her core, was a manipulator driven by ego and a perverse sense of competition. Tyler then posed a crucial question. Are you planning to just let them be happy together? There was something in his tone, a shared undercurrent of righteous indignation. I want them to face consequences for what they did. I want them to understand that actions have prices. I want them to feel even a fraction of the pain they caused us. And if they don't, then they win completely. They get love, happiness, and a fresh start while we get therapy and trust issues. Tyler understood. He got it. He validated Natasha's desire for justice, clarifying that it wasn't petty revenge, but a fundamental need for balance, for accountability. Natasha, making a decisive choice, leaned forward. There are some things about Ryan that Monica doesn't know, things that could make their relationship complicated. Tyler's eyes sharpened. What kind of things? Natasha lowered her voice. The kind that could land him in jail. I think Ryan has been stealing money from his company. Significant amounts of money, and I think he's been using it to fund his affair lifestyle. Tyler's reaction was immediate and profound. Are you serious? Dead serious. What has he done? Natasha laid out her evidence. The suspicious deposits, the unexplainable expenses, the patterns of money movement. Why are you telling me this? Tyler asked. Because Monica doesn't know. She thinks she's getting a successful, wealthy man who chose her over his boring wife. She has no idea she's actually getting a criminal who's about to lose everything. I want to make sure the truth comes out. All of it. The affair, the theft, everything. Tyler's response was chillingly perceptive. Monica hates being embarrassed. She cares more about how things look than how they actually are. If Ryan gets arrested, if there's a scandal, if people find out she's been dating a criminal, she'll run. She'll more than run. She'll deny she ever knew him. She'll throw him under the bus to protect her own reputation. And Ryan? Ryan's arrogant. He thinks he's smarter than everyone else. He probably believes he'll never get caught. And if he does get caught, he'll find a way to talk his way out of it. So when Monica abandons him, he'll realize he gave up his marriage, his security, and his freedom for someone who was only interested in him as long as he could provide her with excitement and financial stability. The partnership was sealed. Partners, Tyler said, extending his hand. Partners, Natasha affirmed, feeling lighter than she had in months. She wasn't alone. This alliance between Natasha and Tyler is a fascinating study in collaborative justice. Their bond isn't romantic, but transactional, forged in the fires of shared betrayal and a common enemy. It highlights how shared trauma, when channeled constructively, can empower individuals to reclaim agency and control. However, it also raises important questions about the nature of justice versus revenge. While Ryan's embezzlement clearly warranted legal intervention, the deliberate intent to expose Monica's true nature and predict her reaction was a more complex maneuver. Was it merely ensuring the truth came out? Or was it an act of calculated retribution for the emotional damage she inflicted? The line can often be blurry, and individuals grappling with profound betrayal often find themselves navigating this ethical gray area. Over the next 2 weeks, Natasha and Tyler met regularly, strategizing in secret. Tyler's insights into Monica's psychology were invaluable. He described Monica's exit strategy mentality, her desperate need for social approval, and her deep-seated fear of poverty. If she's with Ryan, it's because she believes he can give her something she wants, Tyler explained. Security, status, the appearance of success. But if she finds out he's a criminal, she'll leave him. She'll make sure everyone knows she was the victim, that she had no idea what he was doing. This intelligence was crucial for Natasha, allowing her to refine her strategy to maximize the damage to Ryan and Monica's relationship. Meanwhile, Natasha continued to gather irrefutable evidence of Ryan's embezzlement, guided by Peterson. The sums were staggering, over $200,000 in the past year alone. Ryan's clever scheme of skimming small amounts from multiple accounts and moving them through various personal channels would have been almost impossible to detect by anyone not specifically looking for it. But Natasha was looking, and she had found it. The strategic timing became even more critical. If they reported Ryan's crimes immediately, he could be arrested before the divorce was finalized, complicating asset division. If they waited, someone else might discover it first, freezing all marital assets. It was a delicate, high-stakes dance. Then, the turning point. Natasha, while playing her role as the unsuspecting wife, overheard Ryan on the phone in his home office, panicked about an unexpected audit. No. That audit wasn't supposed to happen until next quarter. He stammered, his voice filled with stress. He claimed everything would balance perfectly by Friday, but his agitation betrayed him. He immediately called Monica, revealing the importance of their urgent conversation. The clock was ticking. Natasha immediately called Tyler. "Ryan's company is conducting an audit," she told him. "He's panicking. He said he had until Friday." The timeline had to be accelerated. Peterson was ready to file divorce papers the next day. The decision was made. Do it. But Tyler, ever cautious, raised another critical point. If Ryan gets arrested, Monica is going to realize her comfortable new life is about to disappear. She might do something desperate. Like what? Like try to implicate you somehow. You had access to Ryan's accounts. You could have been involved in moving the money. If Monica gets scared enough, she might try to save herself by throwing you under the bus. A chill ran down Natasha's spine. She had been so focused on building a case against Ryan that she hadn't considered how her knowledge of his crimes might look to outsiders. She needed to protect herself. They spent 2 hours on the phone, developing a plan to create a clear timeline, establishing Natasha as the victim, not an accomplice. The next morning, the divorce papers were filed and served to Ryan that afternoon. Peterson also prepared a statement for Natasha to give to Ryan's company, outlining what she had discovered and when. This preemptive strike was vital to protect her credibility. Ryan's furious call came later that day. "What the hell is this? Divorce papers? Are you out of your mind?" Natasha remained calm. "You told me you wanted a divorce. I'm giving you what you want." Ryan was more concerned about the audit, about his professional reputation. "This is going to ruin everything," he shouted. "Actually, we did need lawyers," Natasha replied, her voice carefully neutral, "especially given some of the things I've discovered about our finances." The line went silent. "What things?" Ryan asked, his voice suddenly very quiet, fear creeping in. "I think we should discuss that through our attorneys," Natasha responded, subtly twisting the knife. "I wouldn't want to say anything that might affect your audit." She then hung up, immediately calling Tyler. "It's done. Ryan's been served, and he's panicking about the audit." Monica's text arrived later, filled with more fake sympathy. "Heard about you and Ryan. I'm so sorry. Want to talk?" Natasha, having blocked Monica's number, deleted the conversation. She was done with the lies, done with the pretense. Justice was finally coming. The call came at 7 a.m., 3 days after the divorce papers were served. It was Detective Sarah Chin from the Financial Crimes Unit. "Mrs. Williams, this is Detective Sarah Chin. We need to speak with you about your husband." Natasha's heart raced, but her voice remained steady. The official investigation had begun. Peterson accompanied her to the police station, confirming that Ryan's company had found the irregularities during their audit. In a sterile police room, Natasha calmly recounted her story to Detective Chin and a federal agent named Rodriguez. She detailed discovering the affair, the confrontation, and then, crucially, the financial irregularities she'd noticed 3 months prior. She presented her meticulous records, her timeline, her legal access to the joint accounts. The agents, clearly impressed by her thoroughness, cross-referenced her information with their own. "Mrs. Williams, these records are very detailed," Agent Rodriguez noted. "You've essentially mapped out a complete picture of your husband's alleged embezzlement scheme." Natasha explained her profession as a research analyst, reiterating her systematic approach. She confirmed she hadn't spoken to Monica since learning of the affair, subtly undermining any potential future claims Monica might make. The investigators clearly believed her story. Natasha agreed to cooperate fully, unwavering in her desire for the truth to come out. even if it meant Ryan faced criminal charges, especially if it means he faces charges. What he did was wrong, and there should be consequences. Peterson confirmed her strong position. Ryan would likely be arrested within days. As for Monica, unless she was directly involved in the embezzlement, she wasn't the law's concern. But she's about to have a very unpleasant surprise, Peterson added. Natasha updated Tyler, who was relieved. So, it's really happening. Ryan's going down. It looks that way. I'm relieved mostly. For months, I've been carrying this secret. Now, it's out of my hands. And when Monica finds out, that's going to be interesting. She thinks she won the prize. She's about to learn she won a criminal. Tyler almost felt sorry for Monica, but not quite. She made her choice. She chose to betray someone who trusted her completely. Now she gets to live with the consequences of that choice. The next morning, Ryan was home, looking haggard and desperate. "We need to talk," he said immediately. "This is bigger than the divorce, Natasha, much bigger." He confessed, accusing someone of trying to frame him for embezzlement. Natasha almost laughed at his delusion. "Ryan," she said carefully, "are you suggesting that I might have had something to do with these irregularities?" No, of course not. You wouldn't know how to do something like that." His condescension was still intact, even in his desperation. "Or," Natasha said quietly, "you could tell me the truth about what you've been doing with the company's money." After a long pause, Ryan broke. He admitted he had borrowed funds from client accounts, just temporarily, to make investments, to build a future for us. He had planned to pay it back before anyone noticed, but the audit came early. "How much money, Ryan?" "A little over $300,000. The number hit Natasha like a physical blow, even higher than her meticulous estimate. He was still trying to manipulate her, appealing to their shared future. "For us, or for your new life with Monica?" Natasha cut through his excuses. His face crumpled. "Natasha, please. I know I made mistakes, but I'm in serious trouble here. I could go to prison." "Yes," she said calmly. "You could. You have to help me. You're my wife. Soon-to-be ex-wife, and I'm not going to help you cover up a crime." Ryan stared at her, finally seeing her as the formidable adversary she had become. "You're not going to help me?" "No, I'm not. Especially after 10 years of marriage, during which you apparently thought so little of me that you not only cheated on me, but also committed crimes that could have destroyed both our lives." He stormed out, clinging to the delusion that Monica would stand by him. "Does Monica know about the money?" Natasha called after him. "She knows I'm successful. She knows I can provide for her. But does she know you're a thief?" Ryan's eyes flashed with anger. "I'm not a thief. I'm a businessman who made some risky decisions." "You're a criminal who's about to be arrested," Natasha retorted. "And when Monica finds out, she's going to run so fast it'll make your head spin." Left alone, Natasha felt a profound sense of closure. It was almost over. She called Tyler, updating him on Ryan's confession. "He's convinced Monica will stand by him through this," she said. Tyler laughed, a humorless sound. "He really doesn't know her at all, does he?" "No, but he's about to learn." This intense period leading up to Ryan's arrest and Monica's subsequent actions highlights the unraveling of manipulative personalities when their carefully constructed facades begin to crack. Ryan, stripped of his perceived control, reverts to blame and self-pity, still unable to genuinely accept responsibility. His appeal to Natasha, the woman he openly despised, is a desperate act, revealing his utter lack of true loyalty and self-awareness. Monica's inevitable flight, as predicted by Tyler, is a classic example of a fair-weather friend and a superficial personality. Her concern for how things look trumps any semblance of genuine affection or loyalty. This behavior is unfortunately common in situations of financial infidelity, where the other partner often benefits from the stolen funds and quickly abandons ship when the consequences materialize. On a deeper psychological level, this narrative beautifully illustrates the concept of narcissistic injury. Both Ryan and Monica operate from a place of inflated ego and a desperate need for external validation. When their carefully curated images are threatened, Ryan by the audit, Monica by the exposure of her lover as a criminal, they don't just falter, they lash out. Their inability to tolerate any perceived flaw or failure leads them to increasingly destructive behavior, often directed at the person who dared to expose their truth. This brings us to Monica's next, even more desperate move. The arrest happened 3 days later. Ryan was the local financial executive arrested for embezzlement, splashed across news headlines. Natasha, though expecting it, still felt a clench in her stomach. Her phone buzzed relentlessly with calls from reporters and curious acquaintances. She turned it off, calling Peterson from her office landline. Ryan's arraignment was scheduled for the next day, and the criminal case would proceed parallel to her divorce, strengthening her position significantly. Returning home, Natasha found news vans outside. She slipped in through the back. Tyler was waiting on her patio. "I figured today might be difficult," he said. "It's been surreal," Natasha admitted. "Part of me still can't believe this is really happening." "Vindicated," she finally told him, sipping wine. "For months, I've been questioning myself. Now I know I was right to trust my instincts." Tyler had more news about Monica. Monica called in sick to work today, and her neighbors saw someone moving boxes out of her apartment. "She's running." He then delivered a particularly infuriating detail. Monica was telling people she had no idea about Ryan's financial problems, painting herself as shocked as anyone else. "She's also been hinting that she suspected Ryan might have been taking money from your joint accounts, that she was actually trying to protect you by getting him away from you." Natasha nearly choked on her wine. "She's trying to make herself look like a hero, classic Monica." Monica, ever the manipulator, was trying to control the narrative, recasting herself as the victim, the concerned friend. Then, Ryan called, from an unknown number. He sounded broken. "Natasha, can we talk? Please, just 5 minutes. I need to tell you something about Monica." Natasha put him on speaker for Tyler to hear. "She's gone." Ryan's voice was hollow. "She packed up her apartment and left town. Won't return my calls. Won't see me. Nothing." "I'm sorry to hear that." "No, you're not. You warned me this would happen." "Yes, I did." Ryan then dropped another bombshell. Monica had left him a letter. "She said she never really loved me. She said she was just using me to get back at you for having a better life than her. She said being with me was her way of proving she could take anything she wanted from anyone." Tyler's eyes widened. Even he was shocked by the depth of Monica's cruelty. "She said I was just a game to her, a way to prove she could steal your husband and destroy your marriage whenever she felt like it." This revelation, while shocking, was also a moment of twisted clarity for Natasha. It confirmed Monica's predatory nature, her deep-seated envy, and her psychopathic disregard for others' feelings. Ryan, desperate, tried to shift blame. "I need you to know that I was played too. Monica manipulated both of us. She made me believe that you were the problem in our marriage." Natasha cut through his self-serving narrative. "And the embezzlement? Did Monica convince you to do that too?" Ryan was quiet. "No, that was all me. I wanted to be able to give her the lifestyle she expected." He still couldn't fully accept responsibility. "Ryan, Monica didn't make you steal money. Monica didn't make you cheat on me. Monica didn't make you treat me like garbage for 2 years. Those were your choices." "But she influenced those choices," he argued. "She made me believe things that weren't true, that you were boring, that you didn't appreciate me, that I was settling for less than I deserved. And you believed her instead of trusting your own judgment about the woman you married?" "Yes." "Why?" Ryan's next words were the most honest he had ever spoken to her. "Because she made me feel like the man I wanted to be instead of the man I actually am." "And what kind of man are you actually, Ryan?" "The kind who cheats on his wife, the kind who steals money from his employer, the kind who gets fooled by a woman who is just using him for sport." "Finally," Natasha said, "finally you're taking responsibility for your actions instead of blaming everyone else." He asked if she would visit him in prison, if she would ever forgive him. "Someday, maybe. For my own peace of mind, not for yours." Natasha hung up, turning to Tyler. He actually sounded remorseful. He sounded like a man who's finally realized the full cost of his choices. The conversation shifted to Monica. Tyler still felt that Monica had won. She had destroyed Natasha's marriage, manipulated Ryan into ruin, and escaped consequences. This ignited a fresh spark in Natasha. "There has to be something we can do," she insisted. some way to make sure she faces consequences too. Tyler, thinking, suggested using social media and professional networks to expose Monica's pattern of behavior. What if people knew she was the kind of person who destroys marriages for sport? Natasha, while wary of appearing vindictive, knew he had a point. If Monica had no loyalty, no conscience, and continued to prey on others, didn't someone have a responsibility to warn potential future victims? This was no longer just about her pain, but about preventing Monica from inflicting it on others. This leads us to a critical junction in the story, where the pursuit of justice begins to bleed into the realm of active consequence management for Monica. While Ryan faced legal ramifications for embezzlement, Monica's actions, though morally reprehensible, largely operated outside the strict boundaries of criminal law, at least initially. Natasha and Tyler's conversation about truth-telling versus harassment is a fascinating exploration of this gray area. Many people, when wronged, struggle with the idea of actively exposing their betrayers. There's a societal pressure to take the high road, to move on, and to avoid being perceived as bitter or vindictive. However, for victims of chronic manipulators like Monica, passively moving on often means allowing the perpetrator to continue their destructive patterns, leaving a trail of broken lives in their wake. The question becomes, at what point does taking the high road become complicity in allowing harm? Natasha's journey reflects this internal struggle. Her initial actions were purely defensive and legally motivated. But Monica's continued attempts to control the narrative, to play the victim, and her utter lack of remorse pushed Natasha and Tyler into a more proactive stance. 2 weeks later, Natasha spotted Monica back in town. Instead of avoiding her, Natasha confronted her. "Monica!" she called out. Monica's initial surprise and fear quickly turned to a mask of fake concern. "Natasha, oh my God! I've been so worried about you. I heard about Ryan's arrest. Are you okay?" The performance was flawless, but Natasha saw through it. "I'm fine, actually. I'm better than I've been in years." She then cut straight to the chase. "You spent 2 years sleeping with him. You never suspected he might be dishonest?" Monica's smile faltered. Natasha pressed on. "Don't pretend you don't know what I'm talking about. I know about the affair, Monica. I've known for months." The mask finally slipped. Monica's face shifted through surprise, calculation, and finally, resignation. "How long have you known?" she asked, her voice now cold. "Since about 6 months after it started. I've been watching you both, documenting everything, waiting to see how far you'd take it. And you never said anything?" "I wanted to see what kind of people I was dealing with. I wanted to understand exactly how little my marriage and our friendship meant to you." Monica, with an almost sickening pride, finally confessed, "You want to know the truth? Fine. Yes, I slept with your husband. Yes, I convinced him to leave you. And you know what? It wasn't even difficult. Why? Because you were boring, Natasha. You were predictable and safe, and everything that makes a man feel trapped. Ryan was desperate for excitement, for someone who made him feel alive." The depth of Monica's callousness, her absolute lack of empathy, was chilling. She admitted it was a game, a test to see if she could take something Natasha valued. "Why? Because I could. Because you had everything handed to you. And you didn't even appreciate it. So you decided to destroy it. I decided to see what you were really made of." Monica, ever the victim blamer, continued her assault. "You let it slip away. You suspected Ryan was cheating for months and you did nothing. You were too weak to confront him, too scared to demand the truth." This was Monica's attempt to wound, to gain the upper hand one last time. But Natasha, transformed, remained calm. "You're right," she admitted, surprisingly. "I was weak. I was scared. I didn't fight for my marriage. But you made one mistake. You assumed that because I didn't fight for Ryan, I wouldn't fight for myself." Monica's confident expression wavered. "What's that supposed to mean? Are you threatening me?" "I'm telling you that your game had consequences you didn't consider. The world is smaller than you think, Monica. Your reputation follows you whether you want it to or not." Monica, still trying to bluff, insisted, "You can't do anything to me. I didn't break any laws." "No, you didn't break any laws," Natasha agreed. "But you did break something else, the trust of everyone who ever cared about you. And trust, once broken, has a way of spreading." Monica's face went pale. "You're talking about sabotaging my reputation." I'm talking about making sure people know who you really are. That's honesty. There's a difference. I'm just making sure you can't ruin anyone else's life without them knowing what they're dealing with." Monica, still clinging to her delusion, said, "You won't do it. You're too nice." "The old me wouldn't have done it," Natasha confirmed. "The old me would have been too worried about being seen as vindictive or petty, but the new me learned something important from watching you and Ryan. I learned that sometimes nice people get destroyed by people who have no conscience. I learned that being too nice can be just as dangerous as being too cruel." Monica, finally seeing the true transformation, asked, "What do you want from me?" "Nothing. I want absolutely nothing from you. I'm informing you that your actions have consequences, that the game you played with my life has rules you didn't consider. The rule that says when you hurt people for fun, those people might decide to make sure you don't hurt anyone else." As Natasha walked away, she delivered a final, powerful message. "You said I let my marriage slip away, that I was too weak to fight for what was mine. You were wrong. I was smart enough to realize that Ryan wasn't worth fighting for. But make no mistake, when something or someone is worth fighting for, I fight to win. And I think the next innocent woman whose marriage you try to destroy is worth fighting for. I think the next man you try to manipulate into ruining his life is worth fighting for." Monica's hardened face was still visible in Natasha's rearview mirror as she drove away, perhaps for the first time, truly realizing that her game had consequences she hadn't anticipated. Natasha called Tyler. "Liberated," she said, describing how she felt after the confrontation. "I like knowing that she doesn't get to just walk away from this without any consequences." Tyler agreed. "Monica destroys people for fun. The more uncomfortable we make her, the less likely she is to hurt someone else." Their conversation was interrupted by a text from Monica to Natasha. "Stop this now or you'll regret it," followed by another. "I know it's you and Tyler. I'm not going to let you ruin my life." Monica was escalating. Peterson called Natasha. "We have a problem. Someone has made allegations that you were involved in your husband's embezzlement scheme. Allegations that you helped him steal the money and then turned him in when you realized you were about to be caught." The accuser? Monica Richardson. Natasha's blood ran cold. Monica had stooped to fabricating evidence, fake text messages supposedly from Natasha's phone, to frame her. This was no longer about justice or revenge. It was about survival. Tyler, initially aghast, quickly refocused. "The truth is on our side. Monica is a liar who's about to find out that lying to federal investigators is a serious crime." Peterson's investigation quickly revealed the fake text messages were created using a text message generator app. The accusations against Natasha were dropped. Instead, investigators turned their full attention to Monica. Making false accusations and fabricating evidence to federal investigators were serious crimes. The fake social media profiles Natasha had documented also helped establish a pattern of harassment and defamation. 3 days later, Tyler called with news. Monica's been arrested. For the fake accusations, the false police reports, and identity theft related to the social media profiles. She had been sloppy, and her desperation had led to her downfall. Tyler felt a mix of relief and pity. She could have just moved on with her life. Instead, she chose to escalate things to the point where she's facing serious criminal charges. A month later, Natasha's divorce was finalized. Ryan received a 12-year federal prison sentence for embezzlement and was ordered to pay full restitution. Natasha received the house, most of the marital assets, and Ryan's pension. Monica, pleading guilty to multiple charges related to her harassment campaign, was sentenced to 18 months in prison, followed by probation. Justice, in its fullest legal sense, had been served. Tyler, recognizing his involvement had become more about his own anger than about pure justice, slowly withdrew, seeking therapy to process his own betrayal and move on. He eventually began dating again. Natasha, however, embarked on a profound journey of self-reconstruction. She renovated her house, traveled to destinations she had always dreamed of, and nurtured her relationships with friends and family. 6 months after the divorce, her sister Angela asked a poignant question. "Do you ever wonder if you went too far with Monica?" Natasha considered it carefully. "I think about it sometimes, But then I remember what she said to me in that parking lot, that destroying my marriage was a game to her. What justified everything that happened to her was her decision to fabricate evidence and try to frame me for crimes I didn't commit. If she had just accepted the consequences of her actions, none of the criminal charges would have happened. But the professional reviews, the social media campaign to expose her past, were truthful accounts of her behavior. Monica built her life on deception and manipulation. All we did was make sure people knew the truth about who she was. "And you're at peace with that?" Angela asked. "I'm at peace with the truth coming out," Natasha said finally. "I'm at peace with people facing consequences for their actions, and I'm at peace with the fact that I didn't let them destroy me." "What about forgiveness?" "Someday, maybe. For my own peace of mind, not for theirs. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting what they did or pretending it didn't matter. And trust? I'll never trust either of them again. But I've learned to trust myself. I've learned to trust my instincts, to believe my observations, to act on my suspicions instead of ignoring them. That's something. I guess it's everything." Natasha reflected on the woman she used to be, naive, hopeful, unprepared for cruelty. "And the new you?" Angela asked. Natasha smiled, a genuine smile. "I love the new me. The new me is stronger, smarter, and a lot less willing to let people walk all over her. The new me knows her worth and demands that others respect it too." She was no longer looking for someone to complete her. She was building a good life she was willing to share. This incredible story of Natasha Williams offers powerful lessons for anyone navigating betrayal and injustice. The most profound lesson is this: your kindness is not a weakness, it's a profound strength. But unchecked, it can make you vulnerable to those who wield cruelty and deceit. The transformation of Natasha from a boring wife into a formidable strategist teaches us that true strength isn't about physical prowess or outward aggression, but about intellectual agility, emotional resilience, and the unwavering commitment to your own worth. Natasha's journey underscores the critical importance of trusting your instincts. For months, she observed subtle signs, the incongruities that hinted at a deeper truth. Instead of dismissing them or allowing doubt to paralyze her, she meticulously investigated. This proactive approach, fueled by quiet determination, ultimately saved her from financial ruin and further emotional devastation. Furthermore, this story challenges our conventional understanding of justice and revenge. While we often equate justice with legal retribution, Natasha's story demonstrates that justice can also manifest in the realm of social and professional accountability. By exposing Monica's true character, Natasha and Tyler ensured that future victims would be forewarned, turning personal tragedy into a protective shield for others. This proactive truth-telling, while risky, ultimately served a greater good, preventing a serial manipulator from continuing her destructive game unchecked. Finally, Natasha's story is a powerful testament to Bao's self-reconstruction after trauma. The betrayal didn't destroy her, it transformed her. It forced her to confront her own vulnerabilities, to redefine her boundaries, and to discover an inner resilience she never knew she possessed. Her new life, built on authenticity, self-respect, and conscious choice, became her ultimate victory. You see, the old Natasha might have been content with a quiet, conventional life, perhaps even suppressing her suspicions to maintain a fragile peace. But the new Natasha, forged in the fires of betrayal, emerged as a woman who understood that peace is not merely the absence of conflict, but the unwavering presence of integrity. She learned that sometimes the hardest battles are fought not with shouts and screams, but with quiet resolve, meticulous planning, and an unshakable belief in your own right to live a life free from deceit. Her life wasn't what she had planned when she was 25 and walking down the aisle. It was better. It was hers, completely and entirely. She learned that love meant nothing without respect, that trust meant nothing without honesty, and that loyalty meant nothing without reciprocity. She learned that being alone was infinitely better than being with someone who didn't value her. Most importantly, she learned that she was stronger than she ever imagined, more resilient than she had known, and capable of protecting herself in ways she had never needed to before. The betrayal that had nearly destroyed her had instead transformed her into someone better, someone who knew her worth and demanded that others recognize it too. And as she booked her flight to Italy, Natasha Williams smiled at the woman she had become. She was finally, completely, perfectly herself. The old life was gone, the new life was just beginning, and it was going to be extraordinary. What a powerful reminder that while some wounds may never fully disappear, they can be transformed into the very source of our greatest strength.